Hi Christine, this is the feedback for the reading section of the mock exam that you did recently. You started off well, you've scored the full 4 marks for question 1. You have, however, written more than you need to, and in fact you've given about 6 answers. So here, crashed against the window is 1, shattered the glass 2, flown into the house 3, carried off the mother 4, it's yellow beak 5, and disappeared into the sky 6. So be aware that you're not wasting too much time. You only need to put 4 straightforward points on that one. However, you've scored the full 4 marks, so that's the key thing. Moving on to question 2, where you've been asked to analyse how the writer uses language to describe the effects of the storm. So for question 2, you've used a lot of terminology. So we said here, use the nouns. You need to highlight or specify the words that you're using, because here I don't know if you know which are the nouns in that sentence, and here you need to explain the fact of hyperbole. And again, there you've just said nouns. You need to put the actual quote in speech marks to show that you know that it is a direct quote, as well as saying the word. So you could say other nouns such like the large dog and the waves and the rocks were used. The key thing that you're missing though, I think, as we discussed in the lesson this week, you're not giving the effect of those words, of that choice of words, on the reader. So you need to explain why he's used that. So what effect does the wind lashing the trees have on you? For example, the writer uses the verb lashing in the wind lashing the trees, which makes them seem as though they're hitting against them and it's shaking them, and that it's trying to destroy the land. So that's the kind of thing that you need to be doing, but we will do more practice on this. But because you've not done any of that, you can only get 1 out of the possible 8 marks for this question. Moving on to question 3, where you've been asked to write about how the text is structured to interest you as a reader. I like the way you've started off with this bit where the writer ensnares you at once with the very real event being awoken from a nightmare, so you can empathise, make sure you're getting the right word with Alex from the start and want to know more about him. It would have been useful had you included a quote in there to back up your point. This bit here now, where you say he uses a metaphor of the blackbird being the destructive entity which crashes against the window and makes you realise that Alex was afraid of losing his mum, is an ideal answer as part of question 2, not this question. So this is what you needed to have been doing in the previous question. So you can do it, it's just sorting out which question you need to come in. Unfortunately, the rest of it really is just a retelling of the tale in your own words, not saying how it's structured. Or you are saying a little bit how it's structured, because you said it then goes on to describe, it then changes, then it switches to. But you're not really explaining the effect of that on you as the reader, how it's interesting you, and you've not used quotes. So unfortunately, I mean, we have got a quote here actually, just as I've said, you've not included any. But you've not really analysed the effect on the reader. And this paragraph really could be taken into the next question, question 4. So we'll see how you performed in that one. But because of the lack of explanation of how it makes you feel as the reader, again, it's got to be limited to level 1, and it's 2 out of the possible 8 marks for this question. Moving on to question 4, which I don't think you finished because you seem to and did partway through a sentence. However, you'll have a look at what you have done. You started off by saying that Alex is struggling to cope with his mother's illness, and you've given the quote, Alex was not in the mood to applaud his father's efforts at making pancakes. Unfortunately, again, what you've not done is shown how that is telling us that, or how you think that is suggesting that he's not coping. So you must give that little bit of analysis. And again, you said he's very frustrated. You've gone on and said that it's not considering anybody else's feelings but his own. If we have a look at the mark scheme for this question, starting with level 1, it says make simple, limited evaluative comments on the effect on the reader. Well, I think they are quite limited because a lot of the time you're telling the effect on Alex but not the effect on the reader. And then shows limited understanding of the writer's methods. Now this is the thing that you've not done. You've not really looked at the methods that the writer has used to show you that Alex is struggling. So you could have written about his irrational anger towards everybody except himself, his sisters, his father, even his mother. Also, you've quoted, but you've not actually said what the effect is or why the writers used it. So you've said about the kind of the shouting and the argument with the sisters, but you've not said that that is showing the writer has used that dialogue and made Alex be shouting at his family to show that he's not coping well with his mother's illness. And again here you've quoted all the things that Alex misses about his mum, but you've not said that the contrast between what life used to be like to what life is now again shows the fact that he's not coping with his mother's illness. And again, I think you've mentioned the paintings, but you've not said about how the contrast between the paintings or the symbolism of the paintings reflects the fact that he's not coping. And then select simple limited textual references. Well, you have chosen some quotes. And then make simple limited response to the focus of the statement. You've not really mentioned throughout the fact that you're agreeing that Alex isn't coping well with his mother's illness, so you've not responded in actual fact to the statement that you've been asked to analyse or evaluate. So because of the lack of understanding of the writer's methods, it's limited to the band 1 and it's going to have to be 3 out of the possible 20 marks for this question. However, had you done a bit more of the methods, then obviously you would have scored more marks. We've got about 10 weeks left, so we have got time to work on them. You're doing the right thing by making sure that you attend every lesson, whichever class it is that you come to, and keep attending the booster sessions. You can always go to the study service room at the back of the Learning Centre in A23 if you want them to go through work with you as well. They can give you extra support. I think you do stand a good chance of getting a level 4 or above. We just need to get focused on the questions and what you need to include in each question.